Well, hello, welcome back to the show. As you can see behind me, I have made a little bit of changes. I have added some sound panels. Ideally, in the next couple weeks, I'm going to actually add a few more things to make this setup as good as possibly can be, to make it as professional as it can possibly be, because I'm trying to improve the quality of these episodes. Honestly, the green background, if you've watched some of my episodes in the past, the green wall is very ugly. So it's my bad that it took me this long to get them set up. It took a couple hours for me to get these panels set up because I had to kind of put them in manually, but now we're here. I have a good setup and I have a good episode lined up for you today. So welcome back to the 365 podcast. I make a podcast episode every day for a whole year. This is episode 191. So if you're new here, I would appreciate you if you show your support in any way you can. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy this video talking about addictions and why we fall into addictive behaviors as human beings. So without further ado, let us get right into this episode. I make a podcast episode every single day for 365 days. You will be hated for speaking the truth.
You definitely have like an x-ray goggles on where you can see someone's aura.
A house divided against itself shall not stand. Matthew chapter 12 verse 25. If you want to make something of yourself, forget your political beliefs. Because different believers experience God in different ways, different non-believers need different explanations to see God as real. Things that make you angry suck you in. Satan's plan fails, right? And God's plan prevails. So addictions. I might end up doing an episode talking about each individual one because I've actually in the earlier stages of my content creation journey, I made some videos talking about addictions. Obviously, they're now private, and I might have even fully deleted some of them as well. So I might do that again, and maybe in more detail. That might be something I think about going forward in the show. Obviously, if I start running out of ideas, that might be something I talk about. But I'm going to talk about that specific concept of just an addiction as in general, like an addictive behavior, a bad habit type of thing. Why do we fall into it? Why do we as humans tend to these things? And, I'm going to just give you like a quick list of some of the examples, right? So you can have smoking, alcohol, drugs in general, any different type of drug, gambling, porn/sex, even video games, social media scrolling, all that type of stuff. Those are all addictive behaviors. And is there anything else? I feel like there's definitely a couple because, well, it's a world we live in today where all these things are so readily accessible. They're so easy to get a hold of. They're easy to get your hands on. So as a result of that, it opens the doors so much more to these bad behaviors because these are things that make you feel good. And as humans, the main underlying reason why we fall into addictions as humans is because we have that natural dopaminergic drive. We have that natural drive to seek pleasure. There's that drive that is in us. So a lot of us can't control it. And when you can't control it, you're basically doing things that kill you. Right? You can even say like eating is an addiction, right? You can add that as well. The common thing with all of the addictions is that you can look at each individual one, and I'll isolate each individual one. They all hurt you in the long run. They feel good in the moment, and you kind of fall into that cycle because it feels good, and that's why. It's like if you smoke one cigarette, you drink one drink, you take one drug one time, you're opening the door and you're giving yourself a huge risk that your body ends up like taking hold of it and causing you to actually get hooked on it. But like they feel good in the moment, but it always, without fail, hurts you in the long run and distances you, isolates you from the people around you, and basically just ruins your life slowly until you become like a person on the street like I saw in Toronto last week, where it was a guy literally like just walking down the street screaming as loud as he can. This is like a normal occurrence in the city, or being on the streetcar and like just kind of being cracked out of their mind. Like, you don't want that to be you, but that is as far as you go. Like, that is the extremities of falling into an addiction. And we all have a level of addictive behaviors within us somewhere. Hopefully it's not that bad. And hopefully this episode will help you understand how you can avoid things becoming that bad. Because I don't think any of us wants to ever be in that situation ever, where you're just on the street because you're so focused on getting the high that you actually don't really care about living in your house or having anywhere to stay or having any money. So first and foremost, it's the obvious thing that it's very expensive to maintain. Especially like you go to a Blue Jays game, a beer is $20, dude. Like, that's just a small example. But you go to a bar, you gotta like you're gonna be spending a couple $100 on alcohol every night out basically. Or if you're gonna do drugs, drugs probably cost even more depending on the type of drug you go and take. Smoking, obviously, the amount of people like there's all these statistics about people that buy like multiple packs of cigarettes a day, and then they just burn through thousands and thousands of dollars a month just on the cigarettes. Gambling, obviously, you're literally going there and putting money on the line, and we know that casinos are rigged. And online gambling is actually even worse than normal gambling, that because the odds are way more stacked against you, and the algorithms make it even harder for you to win. So, but still, a lot of people put it into it. And sports betting is also like something, a form of gambling that also it just takes away from your money. So that's the first thing, is that money. Like you lose a lot of money when it comes to like, let's say, porn. There's a sector of porn which is OnlyFans and cam girls, and there, unfortunately, I personally don't relate, but I know for a fact that there are unfortunately so many people that end up paying because they want their sexual fantasies acted out, right? So they want to see things, so they pay for it. And that burns through your money as well. Those people paying for that stuff is burning through their money as well. So first and foremost, what addictions do, these types of addictive behaviors, they just burn through your money. And before you know it, like you spent all of your money on just a bunch of stuff that is hurting you. First of all, it's super expensive to maintain. And then eventually, if it all gets worse, you eventually get to the point where you actually have no money left. But obviously that leads me to the next point, which is like, yeah, it's not just a financial burden. It's obviously hindering something deeper within your conscience, within your psyche when you do these things. It's releasing hormones and emotions and feelings that should not be released. Naturally, your body is not used to releasing that extreme amount of dopamine or of norepinephrine, the type of stuff that does get released when it comes to the addictions. And there are certain addictions that it clings when you like ingest something or you put it into your bloodstream, it clings directly to the same receptors that your brain uses for normal everyday activity. So it clings to them, and so then your brain actually can't tell the difference. So then that's how you get hooked on it, because your brain actually can't tell the difference, and the drug you took kind of cling to that dopamine receptor, let's say, and the amount of dopamine that was released was extremely heightened in comparison to what your brain normally releases. So then that becomes the normal. That becomes what your brain relies upon. So then if you try, then that's why you have withdrawals, because the withdrawals are bad because, well, your brain has become so used to the feeling of dopamine, because again, you're basically just abusing common like human feelings and human psychology and human brain functions that just kind of get exponentially heightened into something worse, where then that becomes the new norm. That becomes the next thing, the newest thing, the thing that gets you the high, right? That's the thing that hits. And every one of these different addictions, we all have a different issue, but every one of these things without fail contributes to that, right? It clings to a receptor and it kind of heightens the spike of dopamine. And drugs obviously are probably the most extreme version of that, but I'm sure like the sex, it does it. Video games obviously do it, but in comparison, like actual hardcore drugs and alcohol, that type of stuff, that will just make it even crazier, right? So there's levels to this game, right? There's levels to how bad, how detrimental an addiction can be. You look at the fentanyl crisis, that's like literally the worst of the worst, but it's a big, big issue. Many, many people are even dying from overdosing because they just want more, because they just want more and more and more and more, and then their body just can't handle it anymore. Basically, it's just that simple, because you're abusing your brain's natural tendency, and these drugs and these things cling to natural brain receptors and just heighten the dopamine, heighten the feeling, and then that's how you get the high, that's how you get drunk, that's how you get the pleasures feeling, right? The rush, the adrenaline when you're gambling or something like that, or you're having sex, or you're watching porn, or whatever it may be, whatever that thing is, whatever the addiction is. There's levels to the game. Like I feel like even like scrolling on social media and video games are like still addictive because they produce an emotion that's a little bit different than average everyday life. But like it's like that's here, and then you have maybe gambling, which is maybe in the middle, and then you have like hardcore drugs and alcohol. But maybe like I'd say like this, like gambling and like recreational, like maybe like a marijuana or like a beer, wine, alcoholic beverages are probably more in the middle. They're probably more similar. And then the super heightened ones are like your super highly concentrated alcohols, things like tequila and whiskey, that type of stuff, or like, hardcore drugs like fentanyl, like heroin. That's like the worst of the worst, right? Those are the things that truly like have immense power to just completely destroy you. So you're using up a lot of your money. You're destroying your brain, basically. You're destroying your inner psyche slowly and slowly but surely, right? And you're frying your brain. Basically, you're frying your brain's receptors to the point where like that's what addiction is. Eventually, you get to the point where you don't even feel the high anymore, and you're just doing it just to do it. And that's unfortunately where a lot of people are at. And then, of course, it's the social perspective. It is you become so incredibly locked into that addiction that you actually like don't want to do anything else. So you don't want to leave your house, you don't want to talk to anyone, and slowly you just distance yourself from people. And that happens time and time again, and it happens way too often, unfortunately. Sometimes, like for some of them, like alcohol, sometimes it's a thing because you're going out and you're partying and you're with people. That's a good thing. But there are people that drink by themselves, right? There are like, your deadbeat dads out there that just sit around and drink. And then when their kid comes home, they beat the kid, right? Like it's the basic, it's kind of the generic thing. But unfortunately, it happens all the time. It's a stereotype because it kind of is very common. And then you have people, obviously, hardcore drugs, right? Where it's like literally you're just sitting there in the basement, just getting high, right? Or video games also has that power. It has that power because a lot of video games are designed to keep you in there for as long as possible. If you're playing some game, like there's a game called World of Warcraft, where I read a story about a guy, I might have even told it on the show already. It was a guy who literally was playing it for 60 days straight. No, maybe even more. It might have been like 4 months that he was playing for straight. He didn't leave his house. He didn't go to, he was in school. He was in his dorm room. He didn't leave the dorm. He didn't go anywhere. He ordered food. He got fat. He gained like 100 pounds. And he was literally just on the game day and night. And he wasn't answering his phone. And the only reason they caught him is because his parents finally got worried, obviously, and barged into his freaking dorm to see him just fat and on the couch and playing World of Warcraft. And that's what he was doing for many, many months. And it's because it's like that's an extreme example. That doesn't happen to everyone, obviously. I hope so. But it's an extreme example as to like the power video games have as well. So it's an isolating thing because video games is like you have online friends, right? So it's like, why do you need to be with actual people, right? And then it's that trick, and then it tricks your mind, and then you end up, you blink and you're 100 pounds heavier. You wasted a lot of your life, and you're isolated from the whole world basically, and you have to fix that, right? And he had to go through like a real rehab treatment for it, which is crazy, but he did. He had to go through like a real rehab for video games. So that's crazy. But I still think that like, in comparison to the hardcore stuff, video games are still like on a level lower, but they're still all bad nonetheless. So really that's the big three. You spend a lot of money, right? And also the video games, you'll spend money on video games too. You'll spend a lot of money. You're going to be destroying your brain basically, and in some cases destroying your body as well. Like, how smoking, you're literally smoking into your lungs, and your lungs, like, you could get lung cancer, that type of thing. You see the pictures in like your science textbook of like normal lungs versus people who smoke their lungs. Just Google it, and that it's like a very disturbing comparison. So you're harming yourself mentally for sure in your brain. You're getting hooked on it, and being hooked, then you're just relying on it. You're destroying your brain. In a lot of cases, you're destroying your body as well, and you're isolating yourself while wasting a lot of your money. So that is a combination of a lot of things that when put to their extremes, it becomes like the guy on the street that is unfortunately plagued by these things, that's just screaming around, is literally just mentally insane. That's where it gets you. And sometimes you can control it, but I warn you, because other times it's very hard to control. And that's the whole point. We live in a world today where they're all so accessible. It's so accessible, right? Again, like your phone, right? I'm recording this podcast with my phone, so at least I'm doing some useful things on my phone. But you can open your phone and you have access to a whole world of just things that are going to waste hours of your life and probably a lot of money and probably destroy you a little bit, whether that be scrolling, whether it be video games, whether it be porn. Those are all so readily and easily accessible on the phone. And you can look at your TV, you watch movies, watch Netflix, watch the shows. Those are all the same, right? I had a day that I'm not so proud of that I watched a show on Netflix for literally the whole day. And then I literally looked at myself and I'm like, wow, that's scary. I'm smart enough to know, okay, I gotta just like cut this off right now. But I was watching Breaking Bad. If you wanted to know, I wanted to like, but then I realized, oh my goodness, okay, one day is fine, but like, you gotta stop, otherwise you're just gonna keep going, right? And then you're gonna finish the show and you want to watch the next one, right? So that is like the capability where it's all so accessible, right? And of course now, like most drugs are legal, right? Smoking's obviously legal. Alcohol, you go out to parties, you drink, you can buy it at the store. It's very legal. You can literally just go get it, right? You buy it with your groceries basically, and like you can buy some of the most hardest stuff in some places, right? You have liquor stores out there. It's all legal. It's all accessible. You go to a mall, you go to the LCBO or whatever beer store, whatever the thing is you're gonna go get, and you could get some of the hardest stuff, right? Cigarettes, obviously, they sell them everywhere at corner stores and all that stuff. Like, really, it's only the hardcore drugs that, like, you really gotta go out of your way to find. And obviously, gambling. Bunch of casinos. Like, casinos, there actually aren't a lot of casinos, depends on where you live. But sports betting, apps on your phone that are online casinos, that makes it all the more accessible. So we live in a world where all of these things are so incredibly accessible. Really, the only one of the list of addictions that plague so many people, the only one that's like very hard to get are those like really hardcore drugs. And those are the most deadly, the most destructive, not just like killing yourself and your relationships, but literally like killing you. Because you see how many people die of fentanyl, you see how many people die of heroin, right? Those things, those are the ones that are like the hardest to get. But everything else, really without fail, is so easily accessible. It's right there. Like you can walk to a cannabis store across the street probably, and you'll like you just a couple blocks away you'll find one, right? Especially in Toronto. So we live in a world where all of these things are so incredibly, they're just there. So it's so hard to avoid. It's so hard to avoid. You could know it's bad for you, but still end up falling into something because it's just so hard to avoid. Because again, it's abusing our own human psychology and our own dopamine receptors, and then basically heightening the dopamine, so then it becomes the new norm, right? That's the process of getting hooked. It's the process of actually getting addicted to that thing. It becomes a reliance. You feel reliant on it. When you don't have it, you feel depressed even, right? You yearn for the drug, right? You yearn for that hit because you've just been so accustomed to it that that's all your brain wants. Your brain doesn't want the middle level of dopamine now. No, it wants the highest stuff because you've exposed yourself to it. So that's why doing it even once exposes yourself to a lifetime of it, right? And that's why, like, you had these things in like the 80s where before people understood how bad smoking was, they were, tobacco companies were advertising it like to kids because they wanted to get young people to smoke, and it worked for a lot of people. They wanted to get young people to smoke, and probably even earlier than the 80s. It's probably all the way back to like pre-World War time. Like, and they worked. They had generations of people who they started smoking as a teenager, and then they just, that was just their life. So then you have a lifetime customer. That's how they look at it because it's a business model for them. So it's kind of sad, but that's how it is. Now we have all of this information, and we now understand just how bad it is for us. So it's probably, at least for smoking, it's a little bit better. But now you just replace smoking with vaping, right? You replace it with something else, with weed, whatever the thing is. Like, if you fall into it once, it opens the door for it, and then it just allows you to become hooked. Your brain just becomes it becomes literally, that's why it's a drug. It's like it becomes you just need it. You just yearn for it. When you're not doing it, you're only thinking about doing it, and then that is obviously how you fall into things that are maybe even way worse. So I see it with, some of the people around me going through things, and even a couple of things that I personally went through for a season in my life. I saw how much it kind of hurt me. I see right now how much it's hurting them, and they recognize how much it's hurting them. I actually really commend a couple of my friends, because a couple of my friends really were in the thick of it, and then they actually decided to quit because they knew how much it was actually hurting them. So I commend them and I really do praise them, right? I thank God that it may be possible for us to overcome these things. But the point is, that like it's so accessible, it's so there, but they cause so many problems. We all have a tendency to look for that pleasure, to look for that thing that hits, that feels good, right? We want to live an enjoyable life. We want to live a life where we feel good, right? We don't want to feel bad, but sometimes like the bad is what is necessary to get to the point where you'll feel good. And to artificially replace that with something that just completely heightens your senses and heightens your systems in the most crazy ways imaginable, regardless of what it is bad. I think like it like I could go on and on about some intellectual way to describe it, but it's just as simple as like it's bad for you. It's not bad because it's like some moral hierarchy. It literally is just bad for you. You're feeling good in the moment, but it's huge drawbacks you're going to have, and you're probably even cutting years off your life as well in some cases. When you're older, you're going to see a lot of the problems that come about, or even just in a few months after being in an addiction and seeing, the isolation that comes from it, that type of thing. And if you're not quick enough to catch yourself, you end up wasting months and years, in the worst cases, even decades of your life, just sucked into this addiction. So they're so accessible. It's so easy to fall into. We have the tendency to lean towards it. And there are so many things that you can choose. So how do you avoid it, right? How do you stay clean? How do you stay pure, right? That's basically the question. I've gone over and analyzed in the best way I possibly can all of the addictions and why we fall into all of them. But the question is, how do you stay pure? How do you live a life where you're not falling into these things? You don't even have the temptations to fall into these things, regardless of what it is. Right? For one person, it might be alcohol. For one person, it might be drugs. For one person, it might be porn. For one person, it might be gambling. And then for one person, it might be multiple of them. Right? So how do we overcome our addictions, and how do we avoid falling into other ones or relapsing into our old addictions in the first place? Well, I think, first of all, like for people that if you're going through an addiction right now, depending on how serious it is, you have to like be humble. Right? I think addictions push us away from people. And I think what you want to do is be closer to people. Talk to people about the things you're going through. And if you have other people to bounce off the ideas with, and you're able to be vulnerable with them, people that understand you about about the things you're dealing with, it might actually help you have a little bit of a peace of mind. Like I know for a fact that like when me and my friends have deep conversations about porn, about drugs, about alcohol, I find that it does actually make a huge difference when it comes to them. Like I've seen it in them. I already talked about. I've seen it in them how they've looked at some of these things and they are trying to do better. Right? So I see it. So it's like first and foremost, find someone to talk to about it. Right? And there'll always be someone. Maybe you don't trust your family. Maybe you don't have a friend that can do it. There's hotlines, helplines specifically there for a reason. But ideally, it's someone you know and someone you care about, someone you love, and someone that you know will not like judge you for it. That would be like the best thing to do. And then you can talk about it. And opening up the conversation is the first step to figuring out a way forward. And if you're not in an addiction, or if you're very lucky that your problems are very small in comparison to other people's problems, I am lucky enough to find myself in that position. You have to, it's very hard, but you have to, like I know it's something hard, but it's like sometimes like there's a level where it's like you just have to fight. You just have to get it kind of psychologically put in your mind that these things are bad for you. They're not going to help you, so you're not going to do it. For example, my thing is like I'm not going to drink. Originally, my whole thing was I'm not going to drink because I'm an athlete. That was my thing, because obviously if you don't know who I am, I tried to make it as a pro soccer player back in the day. It might still not be over, but as of now, in this current period in my life, it feels like it's kind of over. But I almost made it. I was a guy who almost made it pro, basically. So being an athlete, I was like, okay, I'm not going to drink alcohol because that's just stupid. That's just hurting me as an athlete. But now that I'm not really like that anymore, the reason I don't drink alcohol is because I just know it's bad for me in general. Like I have that instilled in my mind. Obviously, my Christian values, Christian principles, my following the word of God also plays a part in that. You might not have that part of it, but just to understand in your mind, these things are bad for you. These things hurt you. don't even like give it a second thought. Like I had a time where someone literally like gave me a beer. Like they gave me a freaking drink. And then like I just was like I was like, "Yep, cool." And then I like, when they turned around, I just like put it onto the side or I gave it to someone else. Because I have it in my mind. I'm not going to take that sip because I know that the second you open the door to it, it just allows that to fuel you, and it allows that to be something that kind of makes just exponentially grows worse and worse. Also, it was a Coors Light, so it's like it's garbage, it's terrible beer anyway. So it's like I don't even want to be drinking that anyway. But the point is, it's like there might be some other strategy, but it really comes down to having that instilled in your mind, like the knowledge, the education of the fact that like this kills you. It doesn't just hurt you. In the extreme cases, it can literally kill you. Kills your relationships, kills your finances, and kills your life. Like you die. People die from overdosing all the time. And if they're not physically dead, they're spiritually dead because they've isolated themselves and they've distanced themselves so much from the people around them because of their deep desires for their addictions. So I know, I know you're probably hoping for something that is a lot more concrete, a lot easier to deal with, like to overcome it. I think if you're going through an addiction, talk to someone about it. I think that's a good thing to do. But if you're a guy like that's either you're lucky enough to not be in such a big addiction, or you have some issues but nothing too crazy, talking about it always also helps, and just kind of just it's having that mental frame that you know that this stuff is bad for you. Make your life so good that you wouldn't even need to have that high. Make your life so good that your days are great, your days are fulfilling enough that you don't need to replace that feeling with something artificial like any one of these addictions. That's also a great strategy. Obviously, it's easier said than done. You need a lot of things to go right. But if you make your life as fulfilling, as meaningful, like I found that, like, for example, like I'll give an example of my life. When I did door-to-door sales for a little while, I literally I didn't have any vices. The vices that I did have, I threw basically completely away. I didn't even have temptations or anything because I'd just get home and I was so tired. Like I think if you just do things, you get out, it helps. If you make your life as fulfilling, as meaningful, as purpose-driven in your day-to-day as much as you can, it will kind of, like, these things will kind of sort themselves out. And you won't need to replace that feeling because you'll have a deeper sense of joy in your life, in your day-to-day. You won't have to replace it with something like whatever one of these artificial addictions that are there. And also, again, just having that in your mind, that mentality, that mindset that this stuff is bad for me. Let's just avoid it as much as possible. And then another thing you can do, here's another thing that is maybe a little bit more actionable: put barriers in the way. As many barriers as you possibly can put in the way of you and that thing that can possibly hurt you, right? For example, like porn, you can download an app blocker on your phone or on your laptop, and you can purposefully block those websites. And it becomes super easy. You're putting a big barrier in place in between you and that thing so that it becomes easier to avoid it. Or you have an accountability partner, right? You make it so that you need someone else to log in. Someone else knows the password of your phone and you don't know the password of your phone. So every time you need your phone, you have to go to them. And then they can ask you, "Oh, what you're using your phone for?" Right? And that's I think a strategy. Because a lot of it is just on the phone. Like, not like, obviously you have the stuff like alcohol and stuff, but a lot of the behavioral addictions are just on your phone. So that could be a strategy as well. And maybe, like, leaving your wallet at home or something like that when you go out, like just taking like a set amount of money, let's say, if you're going to go out to like a bar or a club or something like that, and be responsible with how you do things, that you just take a set amount of money, you use it, you pay to get in, and then you maybe buy one drink or you buy one round, and then that's it. You're done, right? It doesn't become anything worse, right? That also could be a strategy. So any barrier that you can put in place that you can think of, I've just given a couple of examples, but I'm sure there are many more creative, unique things you can do. It's not like it's not an exhaustive list, the things I just kind of listed. The thing you can put, more barriers you can put in between you and that addiction, is the more you'll be able to kind of free yourself from it. And the more you can mentally get it in your own head that these things are bad for you, even if they make you feel good, they will ruin you. They will absolutely ruin you. So the more you can get that in your head, the more you'll be able to kind of distance yourself psychologically from the want of having those, of having that feeling, that addiction, that thing, that whatever it is that you do, right? And having people in your life that can keep you accountable and talking to others about it. Those are, I think, the best strategies, the best ways to overcome these things. So that's it for this episode. I just wanted to kind of talk about this thing because, well, we live in a world where everyone's so susceptible to it, and everyone is really just, it's open, right? We're all just open to anything just entering into us and causing us to waste a lot of hours, weeks, months, years of our lives because we've fallen into this bad behavior that's not serving us in any way. It's only giving us that pleasure that eventually becomes useless and worthless and a life of misery and despair in the future. So it's so accessible. How do you avoid it? I think those are the strategies that make the most sense. If you can think of something else, do it. Anything that you can think that is an idea, no matter how kind of crazy and intricate it may be. Like if you have to like tie yourself to your bed or whatever for like a day because you just can't control your hands, let's say. Like if you have to go that much, then I say like anything is better than just kind of letting this addiction linger and letting these bad patterns and bad behaviors just linger and stay there, only opening the door for them to become way worse. So I really do, this episode is really like, it's a message to say that like it is possible to overcome them. You have to really push, and there's always that like withdrawal that you got to go through. But if you can truly overcome them, then you're going to find so much more joy in your life. You're going to find joy in things that you didn't find joy in when you were addicted, because the addiction was the only thing you were focused on. The joy becomes opened up with many other great things in your life. And if you're able to overcome them, you'll be able to do many, many more amazing things. The potential in your life will your horizons will just be expanded so much. It'll be exponentially more greater than you ever thought possible. So it's a message of hope, but it's also a warning that, yeah, it's so accessible, it's so there, and I understand why so many people fall into it. I'm not blaming you. I'm not judging you, chastening you for being into whatever you're into, because everyone is. We all have something, right? Everyone has their vice. But the more you can fight against it, the more you can mentally battle against the demons, against those addictive things, the more you'll be able to kind of overcome them, and you'll find that great joy in the rest of your life. So it's a hope, but it's also a warning, just to say just how bad it is, right? Truly, if you're at a party or you're in a position where people are peer pressuring you, for example, to do this thing, it's like, just know in your head, you do it once, the chances that you've just ruined your life skyrocket exponentially, right? Maybe you don't ruin your life by doing it once, but maybe you do. Do you want to take that risk just to feel good for a second, or just to appease certain people? Those people are not going to be in your life, and those are not valuable people to have in your life anyway. So with all of these things in mind, be warned that these things are that bad. Don't take it lightly, because they are that bad. They are that destructive to many, many people's lives. So if you're going through something and you're going through an addictive behavior like one of the ones I talked about, or even something different that is kind of plaguing you in some way, try some of these strategies that I talked about, and truly, there is hope. There is hope for you to overcome them, because we if God allows it, we live a long life. So there's plenty of time for you to overcome it. But obviously, if you don't overcome it and you let it eat you up, your life will go by in a flash, and then you've just wasted everything. And I don't think anyone really wants to be in that position. So that is why I make this episode, to kind of give you this message and talk about how it's important for you. Right? I'm not saying this because this is some religious Christian perspective. No, it's literally as simple as like, these things hurt you. And I've seen it hurt me. And I've seen it hurt other people in my life. So try your best to avoid it and overcome those temptations, to be stronger through it all, and trust in God. Because maybe if you open the door to God, there might be something there that gives you a little bit more power, more strength to overcome the things you're dealing with. I don't know. That's just also a pretty interesting and important suggestion that me, myself, being a person that trusts God, would suggest to you as well. As a way, like if all else fails, like literally just pray on your knees and like, and maybe you'll find some miracle happens, because miracles really do happen every day. So that's all I got for today. Truly, it's a message of hope, but it's also a warning as to just how bad these things are. But I really hope that you will continue to grow and you will continue to overcome these addictions. I believe in you. Whatever you're dealing with, I believe that you have the possibility, the capability to overcome them. So continue striving. Continue to do better in that way. And, the more people live better lives, the better the world will be. So go out there, man. I really do hope that you take this message to heart, this podcast to heart, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope the background suffices. I hope the background makes this video as professional and as good looking as can possibly be. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but I try my best. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, show your support and let me know in any way that you can by liking the video, by subscribing on YouTube if you haven't yet, following on Spotify, referring the show to your friends if you really did enjoy it and you think this episode can help someone around you. Share it to them and help them out. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you're dealing with, and I'll try my best to help you out in any way I can as well. So that's all I got to say for today. I appreciate you for being here, man. If you're still here, clearly that means that this hit you in a certain way, and I'm glad that I was able to kind of talk to you a little bit and talk to you about these things, and I hope that you make the changes that you need to make in your life to do better for yourself. So that's all I got to say for today. So thank you for watching this episode of the 365 podcast, and as always, I'll see you tomorrow for the next one.